Welcome to the Cigar Rebel community, where indulgence meets authenticity. This is more than a podcast. It's a gathering place for those who savor life's luxuries with unapologetic passion. Here we celebrate the fine art of living through rich flavors, bold spirits, exquisite cigars, and unforgettable experiences.
Welcome, Cigar Rebels, to the podcast. I'm Mel.
And I'm Kevin, and we're coming to you live tonight outside of Salem, New Hampshire for an episode that I'm excited about, Mel.
Me too. So on Friday afternoon, we were able to sit down with Oliver from United Cigars, which was an amazing time. We had great conversations, and we can't wait to share it with you Rebels.
Yeah, but first, we're going to go live with you guys tonight and make sure that we're on here. You guys are watching. We're going to be sharing comments throughout the night, so keep the conversation going in the chat. We'll be in the chat with you. But here in a moment, we're going to share that conversation with you that was fantastic.
Yes, 100%. All right, Rebels, let's cut, light, and settle in.
And so, Mel, what are we smoking tonight on the podcast?
So tonight we are smoking the Gold Star by United Cigar. It has an Ecuador Habano 2000 wrapper, Indonesian Sumatra binder, and then Dominican Lajero Criollo 98, Corojo 98, and Connecticut broadleaf filler. So if you've not had this cigar, it is in your Rebel pack. Hopefully you're lighting along with us.
Yep.
And if you did not get our Rebel pack and are not smoking this with us, we highly recommend you go to your local brick and mortar and get it, because it is an amazing cigar.
Absolutely. And so on the episode here in a few minutes, you'll see that we're actually smoking something a little different with Oliver because he surprised us. But we wanted to light this with you guys tonight. As we started the cold draw, Mel, before we lit the cigar, there was a sweet aroma. There was this very pleasant, I kind of wrote down this almost soft pretzel kind of breadiness that was really enjoyable. And we're not doing our cut and light commercial with Big Sky tonight because we want to get to this content with Oliver. But now that we've lit it and just had a couple of draws, Mel, what do you think about this cigar?
So the smoke right off the bat to me is very creamy. It has some notes maybe of some cedar in there.
Right.
It's a little dense.
Yeah, there's a dense smoke. There's almost a toasted kind of flavor to it. Not like a toasted nut or almond, but just kind of there a little bit with a little bit of sweetness at the finish. But so far, it's been really, really good. And so, Mel, what are some things that we wanted to cover real quick before we jump to this interview with Oliver?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So first off, tomorrow night is our ladies' cigar night at Two Guys in Salem, New Hampshire. If you are in the area and have not gotten tickets yet, I believe there were still a few available, not many, but some. Ladies' tickets are $10, come with 2 cigars. Gentlemen are $20. It comes with 1 cigars. I think there's going to be some drinks there, some snacks. I will be wrapping some cigars that evening.
Yeah, and absolutely. And if you want to come early at 4:00 Eastern time, you're going to be shooting the Ash Hills live in studio above Two Guys Cigar Shop.
I was going to say, you can come pregame at 4:00 or even earlier. We'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be there from 11 o'clock on. Our cigars will be for sale. It's going to be great. You had mentioned drinks, and so this is the drink that's going to be there, the Ladybug drink. The bartender that night is the Kilt Man, so we're excited to be with John and the guys. It's going to be a great night. Yeah. Agnes, Sarah, Dave's going to be there. We're going to be there. It's going to be a great evening in Salem, New Hampshire. You can grab tickets at Two Guys Cigars on their website. You can go to the Elevated Humidor website and click a link that'll take you to theirs to find the tickets if that's a little bit easier for you. But man, we are super excited, and there's a few tickets left for that event. Another great event that's coming up here in just a few days, or really it's a podcast. It's the Duel. June 15th. Make sure you go out there and click the notify me button, because we're going to be going live with 6 panelists. We're going to be smoking a under $13 cigar and an over $28 cigar. It's really over 32 at most lounges that we've seen it at. But you can find it for 28 occasionally. So we don't want to overhype the number. But we are going to be smoking both of those cigars live. We'll actually start the first cigar about 30 minutes ahead of time, get that smoked and gone through so we can score them live. And there's going to be a single winner that night. I don't know exactly what it is. I have some thoughts, what could happen, what the conversation could be. We're going to have 2 panelists live with us in studio at Stories. And then we're going to have 2 virtual here on the podcast with us, Leslie and Dwayne Korn.
Yep.
We're really excited to have Leslie of the Corn and Popcorn with us. It's going to be a great night. So go ahead and make sure you click that notify button there on YouTube. You can also follow us anywhere you grab your streaming podcast, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and it will be available for you to listen to.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm super excited about that. So now, Rebels, you guys have waited long enough, and we will be in the chat with you as we are playing our amazing time with Oliver. And we'll share some of the thoughts and comments on screen if we're able to. And yeah, here's our sit down with Oliver.
Yep.
Welcome, guys. The Kill Man here, and you're in the Red Anchor Lounge, brother.
With us today is Oliver NIvaud with United Cigars to talk about his journey in the cigar world, where the cigar industry is headed, and of course, smoking United Cigars. Welcome to the show, Oliver.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. You guys making the trip from Texas, coming in last night to sunny New Hampshire. So welcome.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful trip so far. We've been here about 24 hours. Y'all have perfect weather. We left low 90s to get here to high 60s. So
and everything's turning green and starting to bloom. So good timing.
I tell you, Salem, New Hampshire area, Nashua, this whole area, May and November, maybe mid-October are the prime times to be here.
The fall, when leaves start to change, it's beautiful just to take a ride through the mountains, and absolutely gorgeous. And the weather's still nice. Jeans and t-shirt, which is kind of my wear. That's where I'm comfortable. That's the perfect time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So we're sitting right now at the Red Anchor Lounge.
Yes.
Beautiful space. You guys can see it back behind us. We're set at one of the bigger tables. There's the kind of the stage space up top, which is where we were originally going to shoot, but the lighting wasn't all that great today. And so this has been a beautiful space. So tell us about Red Anchor Cigar Lounge and how it connects to United Cigars.
Yeah, so we're in Nashua, New Hampshire, and this is a Two Guys location. This was the first Red Anchor Lounge when it was all remodeled. So the beauty of this lounge area is that there are so many different sections. So where we were seated, great lighting, if you need to sit and work on computers, but for us to do a podcast with the light coming down, it was casting some crazy shadows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then now we're sitting at more of a communal table. So people that want to sit down, do some work, there are some chargers, and you can sit and do some great work without interrupting the people that are sitting in the different areas. And during events, sometimes this stage to our left is converted into like a stage area where people are playing instruments, and live band can come in. So it's a really nice setup here.
Oh, it's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and y'all serve drinks here, kind of on.
They have a small little cocktail cart with kind of like a flight attendant, type cart, and it's you can get some cocktails and have some refreshments during the afternoon. Yeah, so it was about 18 months ago was the first time we were here, maybe a little about 2 years ago, and we sat right over there on the high tops, and John served us whiskey. I think Whistle Pig is what we had that day. Yeah, to have a nice Whistle Pig.
Yeah, and smoked Red Anchor cigars, which we're smoking again today. So why don't you tell us about Red Anchor cigars? Yeah, so we're enjoying the Red Anchor cigar today. We're smoking the Captain, which is the Rubusto size. It's a 5x50. Within the Red Anchor line, there are 4 different vitolas. So we have the Captain, as I mentioned. The Cooper is our event-only cigar, which I believe we may have had when we did the event at Stories. And the Cooper's a 4.5 by 43. So nice little sampling of the cigar. And then a little bit longer, 6.5 by 43 is the Gunner. And then the Admiral is a 6 by 52 Toro. And then we have the Commodore 7 by 55.
Awesome.
So nice range in the cigar. And it's an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. little higher priming is on this. So you have a little darker, darker leaf. The binder and the components inside, we use Yamasa tobacco inside from the Dominican Republic. There's some PA broadleaf and some other Dominican fillers to kind of round the whole thing out. So it's a nice, I put it in the category of a nice medium bodied, not overpowering on the palate, but some very nice flavors that will kind of waken, get the palate to waken up, and the retro is beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Red Anchor is one of my favorite. I think we brought several with us
Yeah, we did,
to smoke.
for
I
sure.
think the Gunner.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Gunner.
That's
So-
my
I love the
favorite
Gunner.
size personally. I mean, I remember the first time I had the Red Anchor cigar. It was right before we opened officially at Stories. It was during one of our sneak peeks.
Yeah.
And I will say that, you have those, like, I don't want to say life-changing cigars, but
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was like, oh my gosh. And I smoked a lot of them the first month we were open.
Yeah, so I
Thank
think
you.
the first box we sold at Stories was probably Mel and I smoking them or giving them out to people,
Right.
because we wanted.
That's not how to run a business, but
No, right, yeah, exactly. It's probably not the best decision,
right.
but it was made.
Yeah, and it's funny in that, like, if we just said, and you go to a lounge or a retailer and you say, hey, I have a Lonsdale, I really want you to buy it, over a Toro, right? It wouldn't be the one that they would lean towards. But in this blend, that Gunner, which is a Lonsdale size, I believe is just fantastic. It really represents the blend well. And but then the other sizes just are a nice complement to the whole portfolio.
Yeah, and I actually have one of the event size, and I don't remember the name of that one. I apologize.
The Cooper, yeah.
The Cooper. I have one of those in my humidor back at the Airbnb as well.
Oh, nice.
Just because we had gotten one when we were with you guys at PCA. Agnes had given a couple out to try as we were working on the Nelson Alfonso area, what we were going to buy. She was like, well, here, try one of these. And so
that's great.
I lit one up, and I don't actually know how I ended up with a second one other than maybe being a mooch. But it is in my, so I thought sitting in the hot tub tonight is kind of the
that's a
goal,
good-
or tomorrow
that's a
night
good
will
one.
be
Yeah.
nice
That's
little cigar.
and that's humbling. So thank you, because I know traveling, you have and having a humidor and your own cigars, you can travel with almost any cigar, right?
Yeah.
But to choose that, thank you. That's humbling. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Well, it's an honor to do that. So, Mel, I think we're going to get a little bit into a topic and kind of set the stage for a little bit further conversation, if that's
100%.
okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like being at Red Anchor, it made sense to
Yeah.
highlight just for a moment.
100%.
Yeah, we got Red Anchor plastered all over the screen. I love it.
Yep. So being a little bit more on our topic today. So when we started to begin developing Story Cigars and Lounge in East Texas, the first contract we actually set up was with United Cigars. And Kevin and I knew right away we knew one of the first things. We're like, we want to carry United lines in our lounge.
Yeah, and I was sitting, I think I told you this story a little bit earlier today when we were walking through the warehouse, but I was sitting at a conference. I just got done speaking, and I was going up to be a panel. We had about an hour and 15-minute window, and I texted Mel, and I said, hey, I'm going to just call United and see if we can get somebody.
Yeah.
And so I called, and Agnes had picked up the phone. She'd only been with the company a few days, weeks. I mean, really early on. And she was really excited because she had said, hey, I've not made a lot of sales, because she was new and getting into it. And I said, well, I've not bought a lot of cigars, so let's figure this out together.
Right.
And so we got through the phone call, and we'd had an opening order with Red Anchor, Montosa, Terra Nova, United, I think Yaya, and
Firecracker at the beginning?
No firecrackers at the beginning.
Not at the beginning. Okay.
Dos Hombres.
The Dos Hombres. Yeah.
And so that was kind of our process, which really was just so unique to have that opportunity to kind of explore. Because there was a couple of times she had to go ask questions.
Right.
Because I didn't know enough to know what to ask either.
Right.
Yeah.
And she was just brand new.
Yeah.
So if it was right at the beginning, because when she was starting, this was a new career path for her. She had 20 years in retail, high-end luxury cosmetics. And really at the beginning, it was like, okay, well, here's a list of all of our accounts. Just start calling just to say hello and touch and see how they're doing. And also that's part of the experience of learning how to, as simple as it sounds, pick up the phone, dial, and have a friendly voice, confidence in the portfolio, and just kind of working through things. So your call in was very exciting for her, and she had to work through some kinks because there were some questions that she wasn't wasn't ready for, but she's been fantastic. 2.5 years with us now. So,
yeah. And she's become what I would say a friend, you know. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
and it's just one of those things that every now and then she'll shoot me a text or mail a text with a picture of her smoking something or doing something like,
Right.
I've got to try this.
That was good.
When y'all first got, I think we'll talk about it in a little bit, but the new firecracker, when that first box
Yes.
came in, she shot us a text and was like, you have got to make sure you order this.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't feel like it was as a salesman. I feel like it was as Agnes going, y'all are going to love this. And there's different relationships in the industry.
Yeah, it's funny, and you've been in the industry for a while, but you started because it was a passion, right? It was a hobby. You smoked them, and even now, being in the industry as long as you guys have, you still revert back to that, you know, cigar geek is what we call ourselves. But sometimes it's just, I even geek out about our portfolio, other things that are coming out in the industry. You know, if I go back to smoking in Atabay, which I don't smoke very often. I then revert back to kind of those first days of coming into just the hobby and fall in love with it all over again. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I remember you texted me and you were so excited after you had talked to Agnes and talked about how we had gotten that account open. And, you know, really since then, we've worked with you guys a lot over the last couple of years, and it's been great. And we've had the honor of having you at Stories to do events with us.
Beautiful
and,
location too.
We're really honored to have you here tonight with us as well.
No, thank you for keeping
absolutely.
me on the radar.
Yeah, and so when we knew we were going to make this trip up, I had to come up to Boston. We could make an opportunity to run up here for a couple of days. Was really excited to come to Red Anchor and be able to do this just because it's another lounge. It's beautiful in here. The space is great. And so thank you for telling us about the lounge a little bit earlier. Kind of moving forward a little bit, I want to take a moment and maybe take a few steps back. Can you tell us about how you got into cigars that really kind of led you to this career? But like you said, it becomes a hobby and a passion first before it really becomes a career.
Yeah. So it's I guess started in '88, which is a long time ago. '88, I started smoking cigars. I was, I think I was 16, and I just grabbed a cigar from my father's humidor without him knowing. But cigars have been in my family, and my folks and my entire extended family are all in France. Still, my parents live in Connecticut now, and they've been in the States since '73. But anyway, I grabbed a Fuente. And from what I remember, it was just the Chateau, because I remember the cedar. It was just a short cigar, and then from there I just jumped into learning about cigars because it was just interesting to me that my uncles were smoking, my father was smoking, and wanted to learn about cigars. And then I started smoking more and more and just enjoying them. My first premium box, that I'll call it, of cigars, I was in college. And I bought a box of 10. It was a box of 10 Te Amos. And then fast forward, I graduated. I was working in Boston, and I moved out to Las Vegas in '97, November '97. And by April of '98, I started working for a cigar company in Las Vegas. And that was Fryboy Tobacco. We had, while I was there, we ended up opening about 10, 12 retail locations, satellite locations within the casinos, and we had our local office. So I worked at the MGM location for about 6 months, and then I was transferred over to the Caesars location to manage that store. And then within the first year, then they brought me into the office to do some of the marketing, because that was my background. Do more of the marketing. That turned into a little bit more manufacturing, and we had wholesale, we had cigarette hostess programs. Fryboy Tobacco had partnered with Ashton and Fuente to open up Casa Fuente, which just recently closed. And then
I was devastated by that.
Yeah, that was a staple, right?
Yes.
That was
favorite place to smoke in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean that was a pin in the map for Las Vegas for lounges. And then we opened up Rum Bar at the Mirage, and but after 14 years with them, I moved, and we went to Utah for a year, and then moved back east because that's where my parents were, and that's where I kind of grown up in my high school years. And then 2016 is when I started with United Cigars, and I just took it from we were small. We're still, well, what's the definition of boutique? I think David talked about boutique on the Cigar Authority recently, but we're still a smaller company, but our portfolio is so vast that it's really trying to grow and share all of these lines with people. When I started, I really then said, well, we just need to focus on one, and then we can start growing. And that one that I chose was Atabey, because to me, smoking that cigar was necessarily life changing. I think you said it earlier, but it was one of those moments. I was like, wait a second, what is this? And I learned about the process, the aging process, 5 years post roll, learning about Nelson Alfonso, and then from there, I just felt like that was the cigar I wanted to focus on, and outside of that, then people can learn about the portfolio afterwards. So, we have an extensive portfolio from, sub $10 cigars with our United and Firecracker and Montosa, which we distribute for Arnold Andre, and then going up to Gold Star and Red Anchor. So it's a beautiful portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's lots of great cigars for sure.
Yeah, you have a great value cigar that somebody can even like La Mezcal Cubana.
La Mezcal
Cubana. Like this $6 cigar. Move up in the United, which is I want to talk about that specifically in a few minutes, so I don't want to go too deep into it here, because I think it deserves its own spotlight. But then you get into Montosa, Terra Nova, and then you can go all the way to the other end to the luxury of Atabey and Byron.
And Alfonso, and beautiful.
And the new Nelson line.
And the new Nelson line, which, is slowly trickling out to the market in sample sets. So it's an exciting portfolio.
It's wonderful.
I agree. So what is your favorite cigar in the United lines? We talk about there's a lot of really good ones. If you could only choose one to smoke forever, which one would you pick?
if it's just to smoke forever,
or which one's your favorite?
In
are those
the
answers
portfolio,
different?
it's all because they all kind of hit the palate differently, but it's like saying, what would be your favorite wine? And it's not even fair, because I look at Atabey and I'm like, oh, look, it's aged minimum of 5 years post roll. It's delicate. It can kind of hit the palate at any time of the day. So, if it was one that might be one. And the Spiritus, for me, the Lancero, in that has a little more palate forward strength to it. So I lean towards that. I really like it. And the Ritos is a beautiful size that is more Toro, so it softens and has more delicate, floral, sweeter notes. But I'd say if I could pick a couple, the United Connecticut, I think, is a brilliant Connecticut using Dominican broadleaf, and it's just approachable $8 price point. And then Gold Star is one that I've been smoking a lot of, even though we're smoking the Red Anchor and the Red Anchor Lounge, the Gunner we were talking about earlier. I love the Gunner. So it's hard. I didn't answer the question.
You answered a little bit. You put a few of them out
it's
there.
Hard, yeah.
And you mentioned the Gold Star, and so the Gold Star I have right here. It is one of my favorite go-tos. If I'm in our shop and going, what do I want to smoke, and I don't want to think about it, the Gold Star Rubusto is what I grab. And please don't hear that as, I don't think, but it's going to perform. It's enjoyable, and I know it, so I don't have to think about what am I tasting, what it's the flavor notes. I can sit there and work, or I can sit down and have a meeting with somebody at the shop, and it's just easy to smoke.
Right.
And then
thank you.
Last night we sat down and Mel said, if we're going to get in the hot tub, I want to smoke something good. Because I just had some sticks that we had with us. You know what I mean? Just and we went back and forth till we smoked the McAuliffe White or the Gold Star. We ended up smoking the McAuliffe White, but only because we're going to be smoking Gold Star at some point today. And so we're like, we're going to have that today, so we'll do the McAuliffe White.
And that's fair.
But,
people at
but
McAuliffe are fantastic.
But that was one of those things, though, that we're not saying it just because we're here. We really do smoke a lot of United, which is why it was the first account we set up. And so you had mentioned United, and I'm going to kind of jump around. You also mentioned Atabey, which I want to ask a question, but you recently were in Spain looking at this new process, can you tell us much about that?
Yeah, so that's Nelson Alfonso with Selected Tobacco, the new facility that he's opening up in Madrid, Spain, this October, where we'll have the grand opening. It's an incredible facility that will. It's really it's almost like a university because if you're able to go and visit Madrid at some point, and you want to see the facility and it's open to the public, then um, he'll have his design studio there, a whole display area for everything that he's worked on throughout his career. Um, you'll see the rollers will be there, the packaging area will be there, the aging rooms, which consists it's 2 stories, right, and it's the largest cedar lined humidor in the world, from ceiling to floor. Everything is cedar. uh, 24 different aging rooms, but then within those aging rooms, or outside of those aging rooms, there's a whole separate area that when the cigars are ready and they're packed up, they can rest in that area. Then there's the whole warehouse where it'll have the packaging materials, but it'll be fermenting tobacco there, aging tobacco there, aging tobacco in wine barrels. So the wrapper will be aged in barrels that are scraped, and the filler and binder leaves will be aged in barrels that are unscraped, but old wine barrels. And then he'll be growing tobacco in the facility as well, so that he can use the seeds that will be sterile, but then plant those. He wants to use that final seed in Spain to start growing tobacco there. So really, every aspect of the cigar business he'll be
That's
doing.
amazing.
Yeah, that's
And so
great.
I know Mel has a couple questions around United, but before we get to that, um, can you talk about how that partnership developed or what that means to United Cigars? Maybe the development part you weren't as involved in,
Yeah.
but as it's definitely grown under your stewardship since you've been here.
Yeah, thank you. So that started. So United Cigars started in 2009 with David Garofalo, who brought it back because United Cigars actually started in 1901. They had built it up to over 3,000 retail locations across the country, and they did distribution, and it was a very large company that they partnered with Whalen Drugs, and it was more of they weren't your typical cigar lounges that we know today. They were selling magazines and comic books. In fact, they were the same company that ended up purchasing Marvel Comics, and
Okay.
so then, excuse me, in the '60s, that's when it dissolved. So David brought it back in 2009 to bring back some of the or to introduce some of the lines that he had created over the years. In 2012, that's when Nelson Alfonso had approached David about distribution, but at the time, United Cigars wasn't necessarily a distribution company,
Okay.
but he wanted to help Nelson. Nelson, he believed in Selected Tobacco and Atabey and Byron, so he wanted to roll that into the United side. And Nelson, had a distributor before, but he was kind of changing over and wanted United Cigars to represent it. So at the time, they just had the one booth for United Cigars and Selected Tobacco at the PCA shows.
Okay.
And then that's evolved over the years. And then I started with the company, as I mentioned earlier, in 2016.
Yeah.
And I think for myself, as I mentioned, when I tried Atabey for the first time, the cool draw is almost what captured me at first, because I had really, not that I had never tried anything like that, but it was just so clean, so smooth, sweet. And then I lit it up, and then I started to learn about Selected Tobacco. And I felt that there was something very special there that just wasn't shared with everybody. So it wasn't understood.
Yeah.
Outside of just seeing a cigar that was priced at a certain level.
Yeah.
But if there's no explanation behind a price point, then it's the why starts to be stronger than anything else.
Yeah.
So for myself, it was just traveling the country and sharing that cigar with people, explaining the story behind Atabey and behind Selected Tobacco and what the process is of aging the cigar post roll. It's unlike anyone else in the industry. So Nelson will roll the cigars in Costa Rica, but when they're shipped to Madrid, Spain, they go through that aging process, and the process is what I want to focus on. and really emphasize, because a cigar, what I knew as a cigar to be aged was in my humidor, resting at 70%, 70 degrees, and after 5 years, it's a 5-year-old cigar. But that process is very similar to buying a 12-year-old Scotch or a 12-year-old bourbon. Once it's out of the barrels, it's not really aging the same way. It's not absorbing the flavors. It's not cleansing itself. So Nelson will take the cigars and put them into a cedar-lined humidor. But when I say cedar-lined, like ceiling, floor, walls, everything, and then lower humidity and then raise it back up. So similar to the different spirits, when they're in the barrels, colder months the wood contracts, and warmer months it expands. So it's actually absorbing the liquid, but then filtering it as well. And they roll the barrels, and it's a process. So Nelson's aging process for selected tobacco is what really distinguishes his lines and brings that elevated price point as well, because of that extra time that the cigars are aging.
Yeah, it's probably one of the few cigars ahead of $20 that I never mind spending the money on. There's a lot of cigars out there, unfortunately, that have been coming out of that $20 plus mark.
Right.
$40 plus mark. We smoked one, and I'm not going to say which brand it was, but it's a new one released at PCA, $72.50. I bought it at another lounge. She's like, "Hey, are we going to buy this for stories?" I've never had it. They didn't have samples at PCA. It was just either you buy blindly or you don't.
Right.
And I could have walked through our humidor and bought any $10 cigar that was better.
Yeah.
And that happens. But when you look at the stuff coming from Nelson, everything smokes ahead of its price, even at that $20 plus price point.
Wow. Yeah. I share the same feeling on it. It's and that's what drove that passion when I started with the company. And it's true in any industry, right? Clothing. Sometimes it's just the designer label on it, or it's the packaging for a certain drink or wine or whatever. But the product has to hold up. And then I want to know, well, what's taking, like, why is Gold Star around the $12 price point? Why is United around the $8 price point? The tobaccos that are used are still, every cigar on the market, especially today, because there's a more educated smoker. It's aged tobacco. For the most part, it's quality tobacco. I think we're fermenting tobacco a lot better than before.
Absolutely.
So they're all quality, but it just depends on how you want to kind of position it and what you're doing with your certain packaging, and because it all plays a factor as well. And the tobaccos that are used, there are different grades and different levels. With selected, even the wrapper is AA grade wrapper. So it's going to even start there. You're talking about 5 to 7 year old tobacco inside as well. So everything plays a factor in that price point. And sometimes there are cigars that are higher price point that don't meet that price point, but sometimes there are cigars that are lower price point that smoke higher.
100%.
Absolutely.
So.
I know Kevin had mentioned PCA, and we saw you very briefly. How did the show go for you there this year?
The show. Well, for us, for United, it was a great show.
Yeah.
And I think that was a sentiment for the entire PCA, from just talking to industry friends, and there was just a good feeling, a good vibe at the show. People were happy, people were energetic, and I think the PCA did a great job as well. But it was a great show overall. If we're just strictly looking at at sales for it, it was a great show.
Yeah.
But I think when you're and that again was across the board, from what I understand with other manufacturers as well. But when you tie everything in, could have been one of the best shows that I can remember in the short term.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Was there anything that surprised you at PCA this year?
That's a good question. Surprised me. I think being humbled by it, but more new faces coming in, saying that they've had requests and people have talked about it, and they're like, "Yeah, you were on our list. We wanted to come see
great.
United Cigars." So and that's just humbling. That's a lot of work and dedication on our team that we have out there, and what we're trying to do to get the name out, and retailers like yourselves that share the story and believe in the product. That's on the shelf that your customers like, and so it was that was a surprise. It's always surprising to even walk into a lounge or somebody that will recognize the brand that before was just an unknown. So
I mean, realistically, 10 years into the distribution, maybe 15 years, that's not long in the cigar industry.
No. When you look at some of the some of the
so
companies,
young,
right?
And so to have the reputation that you guys carry is impressive. And we're not saying that because you're on here with us. I mean, we've had that conversation offline previously, but just and it's really do think it goes back to the dedication of the team, right? Because you know as well as I do, you've been doing this a long time. Take care of your team really well. They take care of your customers. Customers ultimately take care of you, right?
Right.
And you guys have a really great team here in New Hampshire, and you've got some great partners that are out around the country. It seems like.
Yeah. Thank you. And it was by design, in a way, because it was just myself for a long time, and with Dave, I would come back from trips and we would talk, and we both agreed it's not just the sales. Don't focus on just forcing the product or bending in a certain way that would kind of dilute either the idea, the drive behind the brand. Really just focus on building the proper foundation, and just stay true to your word the whole time, and then we'll grow from there. So you don't want to build a house with a weaker foundation, put the studs up, and this nail's crooked, don't worry about it, put the sheetrock up, it'll be masked and nobody's going to see it, right? So we wanted to build everything with quality, and it's there are some companies that in the past have done it very well, and they can be an overnight success in a way, but then a lot of those companies sometimes they just go away, and it's not just throwing money at the industry either. I think as consumers we see that we see through that a little bit, because there have been some larger companies, European or from wherever, that come in and try to really almost force their way into it, and it in the end people really have to love the product.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last couple of PCAs have almost been hotbeds of new information coming out days before the show. The tariffs last year, the definition of a premium cigar, and the CAA versus the FDA definition that was defined, I think, the Thursday or Friday leading into PCA. What is your take on that definition, kind of finally having a finalized definition, which we've had for over a decade, but we kind of finally have a legal decision around it? Do you feel like that has any impact on the cigar industry or United over the next several years?
I think as I guess the government, and as we start looking and understanding premium cigars more, and we're able to, because before it was all lumped in, right? If it produces smoke, then it's like, oh, that's part of the industry, and they have to be responsible for letting people know that's a barbecue, right? I'm cooking a hamburger and it's flaming up. Those flames and that charring of the meat, it's carcinogenic, and now it's causing cancer, and right. So for cigars to now have a better definition of what a premium cigar is, all no additives, long leaf, pure tobacco, I think it will start to help us in the future to separate us from something that's more manufactured and not by hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. And so I have one final question before we kind of move on to talk about United specifically that I'd love your thoughts on. Last week, Kevin and I talked a little bit about CAA released the Q1 26 import numbers, and Honduras has passed the Dominican for the first time. So I'd love your thoughts on if that surprises you at all, and if you think it means anything for the industry.
Yeah, are there surprises anymore? Right? Because yeah, I mean, I've been in it long enough where I remember, Mexican tobacco was looked down upon. Nicaraguan cigars were looked down upon. As cigar smokers, our palates develop differently, and we start looking for new things. And if there was a smaller market before, then that by human nature, we just kind of search for it because it's something you don't have. I want it. So, and look, Honduras puts out some great products. We're fortunate enough to have our abuelo with JRE, but you have the Aroa family that has done some great things out there for a long time, and we make our La Giana in Honduras, and there's just some great quality products coming out of Honduras. So it takes time to build, right? Just like Nicaragua took a little bit of time to build, but then Nicaragua became a dominant force, and Honduras was just right behind. It just needed a little bit of time.
So do you think Honduras will stay ahead of DR, or do you think there'll be a back and forth shift? Any thought? And again, if you don't care to say, we don't get that. Because like you said, a lot of the rebels out there, those who watch the podcast, the consumers, they think of PCA as kind of the Disney World, but really it's all business. I mean, it's for you guys, it's an exhausting 7 days, right? I mean, you can sit back and say it was fun, but that was after the work.
Right.
For maybe the retailers that are there, it's a little bit more Disneylandish.
Well, it's a lot of walking for you guys. So I guess it's like Disneyland. You have to walk, right?
Exactly. But then when you talk about these imports and these legal battles, like you said, are there surprises anymore? It's sometimes tough in your place to say what you think it means. Jonathan Carney, we talked to him at PCA and did a quick interview with him. And, his comment was, I think this is really great maturing for the industry. We really feel like this is good. We weren't talking about the Honduras numbers because that hadn't happened yet. But when we look at that, it feels like all of these steps, including the tariffs, to be honest, and how cigars were kind of dealt with during the tariffs, how feels as a whole that several decades in, the cigar industry is maturing to stand alone outside of and away from tobacco.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing for the industry.
Yeah, I think it's definitely for our industry, because in the tobacco category, we're such a small portion of it.
Absolutely.
Right. So I understand the general sweeping, let's throw a blanket on this. But when you really start to break it apart, cigars are very different. It's like ground beef, it's beef, but it's very different from, porterhouse, right? And then a different grade. So I think it's it's positive. We have to, there's a lot to battle. Dave does a lot here in New Hampshire with the CNAH organization here. They do a lot with some of the local retailers, but I think overall it you have to, growth is never easy or comfortable, right? So we're going through some growth, and it's uncomfortable at times, but in the end, I think we'll come out ahead.
And I've said I think Honduran tobacco is finally getting the respect that it deserves for the years of work that's happening there in the industry factories that are there that have been producing great cigars for years. It's like I said, it's kind of like when Mexican tobacco became San Andreas, suddenly there was a different level of respect.
Yes.
I feel like Honduras surpassing Dominican is that same tipping point that we'll see in the industry. And I don't know what it'll mean long term. Our factory that we own in the Dominican. So, we want that to keep going. But there's a lot of interesting things happening, even with new factories opening there. And so it's just was curious if you had a take on what you thought it might mean or not mean. So this has been very helpful. I appreciate that.
I think like Dominican's still very strong. It's not that it was going south. But the new, or what's different and where is it easier to get something produced? And Honduras just kind of, I think, turned that corner. But yeah, I think Dominican's competitive enough that they'll figure out a way to come back ahead.
Yeah.
Plus, with Gold Star and Red Anchor are made in the Dominican, so I might start changing some numbers.
Absolutely.
100%. So that's awesome. That's great insights. I want to kind of refocus back to the United brand. I think you had a couple of
So
questions
kind
on
of
that.
kicking off, I want to jump to Montosa here in a second, but you've mentioned the $8 United line. So United is the United Cigar Group or distributor group, but you have the United brand of cigars. Fantastic. You and I texted about it maybe a week or so ago about the value that's there and the quality. Can you tell us about those three wrappers and kind of what that means to your portfolio?
Yeah. So United Cigars, as I mentioned, started in 1901, but they didn't have a brand. And when United Cigars started back up in 2009, the brand came out with a Maduro and a Sun-Grown, and natural, and it was box pressed. And we used Brazilian Matafina in the filler, and that just became harder to source. And maybe it was gaining some popularity, so we didn't have as much access to it. The United line was growing a little bit, and we had done some projects with turning a round cigar into a box pressed, and those were our cigar bars. So then going down to the Dominican, working on different blends to get away from the Brazilian Matafina, and then doing a special event cigar. We made a Lancero Maduro that was an event only United,
which is spectacular, by the way. We had the pleasure of smoking that with you when you were at Stories.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted something a little more robust and something for events, but I was able to try some Dominican broadleaf that I thought was fantastic. Not robust enough, but not overpowering. And so that started to turn into the new United blends, and it's a regular Pareo, not box pressed. And the natural progression of in the industry is, and it should almost be started with, is the Connecticut. We didn't have a Connecticut in the portfolio, so we rolled in the Connecticut and launched that just a couple of years ago. And so we have now the Ecuadorian Connecticut blend with a Dominican broadleaf in the filler. And we have the Sun-Grown, which is also Ecuadorian, and the Mexican San Andres Maduro. So the three different blends.
And the Rubusto comes in at what, $7, $8?
Yeah, $7.50, right around $8. Yeah.
I mean, spectacular value in a cigar. I know you'd mentioned Cigar Authority earlier. They often throw out the McAuliffe effect. And have joked that you guys were kind of doing it before they were. But Dave likes to give credit.
And the United 2 years ago, we actually lowered the price, and it was just before the tariffs too. So maybe some good timing, but we had you're always looking at the packaging. So we had talked earlier about what makes a cigar a higher price point, and for us, we were trying to keep that as a valued cigar because that's our flagship brand. That's the name of the company. So renegotiated and brought the packaging in-house to the factory, and that saved us a few dollars, and we just rolled that over to the consumer and let them save. So we try to keep that under 10 as much as possible.
Awesome. So there's so many cigars across y'all's portfolio, and we're getting a little bit long on time. We want to honor your time. I know Mel probably wants to ask about upcoming projects here in a moment, maybe the Firecracker. But let's talk briefly about Montosa, Natural Maduro, La Giana, Garofalo. Maybe one of those that you want to choose one of those and kind of highlight. Those all sell really well at our lounge. We know other lounges that do really well with them. Wasn't sure if there's one that makes sense to highlight the most, just since we're running a little long on time.
So to keep it brief, I guess the Montosa and Terra Nova, which comes out of the Arnold Andre factory, because Arnold Andre is a 200-year-old German company They opened up a factory in the Dominican Republic in 2010 and started to blend premium cigars for their European market. They had approached us to do distribution for their lines, and we've introduced 2 of their lines so far. As I mentioned, the Montosa Natural and Maduro, and then the Terra Nova Perique and Dark Fired Kentucky. The lines are fantastic. The Montosa is very budget friendly, but a beautiful Dominican. And then the Terra Nova is just a interesting blends. The Perique is the Brazilian tobacco, and the Dark Fired Kentucky is a very subtle, smoky cigar. So Arnold Andre is a fantastic partner with us. They were added to Pro Cigar a couple years ago, and I wanted to bring them up too because we just partnered with them to do our Firecracker Independence Day for the 250th anniversary. So this is an interesting packaging as well. It's a collectible pack. So we have the 250th sleeve that just comes off. But you can see that it has Home of the Brave on one side. Land of the Free is printed upside down, but that's the reason for that is because this becomes an ashtray.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
When you're traveling with it,
out of the way.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
So, Land of the Free, that becomes a little ashtray, and these are 12 count tins. So this is the Independence Day Firecracker that we'll start shipping out to retailers June 8th, just in time for St. Patrick for the 4th of July for Independence Day. So it has obviously the 3.5 by 50 Vitola with the fuse at the end to make it the firecracker. So great way to celebrate 250 years with the Independence Day Firecracker from Arnold Andre.
And that band is really nice. The color composition on it with kind of that nice silver and then the blue and the red.
Yeah, little industrial, right?
Yeah.
With the embossed stars on there, and Independence Firecracker with the United logo on the back. So it's a beautiful,
it's spectacular.
Beautiful cigar. Mexican Habano wrapper. You have Dominican and Nicaraguan ligeros inside, so it packs a nice little punch.
Yeah. I love that it doubles as an ashtray too. That's
nice.
So anywhere you are, if you've got that with you,
and a nice tin. I hope we'll see this on shelves. People love to collect and hoard a little bit, but it's just one of those tins that I think will stand the test of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those projects that's beautifully done. I could go on. But it's very, very well done.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like we could go on and on, way past even whatever our normal time is, just to talk about all of it, because you just, like you said, the cigar geek, or just wanting to talk. I talk cigars all day, and some days I do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah. Well, when you love something like that and you can just sit down and have a conversation, it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So before we wrap up today, and really appreciate you being on with us, such an honor and humble that you took time out of your busy schedule, but are there any other projects that you guys have going on or working on that you're excited about that you can talk about? I know there's probably some you can't talk about because that's always the case, but is there any something coming? Because I know there's this firecracker, there's another one coming, but any other kind of things like that you know that United's going to be looking at later this year?
Yeah, so we have the Bandolero Firecracker, which will be the second edition. That'll come out in the fall.
Oh, awesome.
We shared at the show, but we're now, I think, as I mentioned right before, we just got notice that the deluxe edition collector set from Selected Tobacco is coming out. So that's one of each of his lines in the tube with a collector's ashtray inside, plus the Atabey Black Delirios in the travel humidor will all be shipping next week as well. So
that's amazing.
There's a lot shipping out next week.
Yeah, we put an order in for the PCA.
Yeah.
We don't get the black just because of our volume and size we are, but we did get the collectors,
Deluxe.
and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. For those rebels out there, you need to keep an eye out for that. Ask your local tobacconist about getting it. If for some reason they do not carry it, you can always get it at Two Guys Cigars website.
Yeah.
But beautiful packaging. We saw lots of cool stuff at PCA this year. A lot of people trying to do some new unique packaging. But we walked away from that just blown away about how well. Of course, it's Nelson Alfonso.
Yeah.
Was it going to be anything less than spectacular?
Right. He always surprises us. We'll get like an email with a rendering of something that he's planning on in the future, and that's where we have the discussion of, what can work, what may not work, what we should tweak to, and then he'll redesign it. But when he sends it to us, it looks as if he took a picture from his desk of something that's already created, but he's able to put things together, and his mind, the way it works artistically, is unbelievable. So we're thrilled to have that partnership between the two of us, with United Cigars. And outside of that, Gold Star and Red Anchor have been doing very well. So we have some, working on a couple things there for some extensions. So there'll be some new things coming out. Maybe not at the end of this year, but definitely by next year.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm sad we didn't get a chance to talk about Gold Star, just because that's, that first came out as a limited edition, did really well. When y'all came back out with it, the limited edition was good, but when it came back out into the core line, a little bit different new blend, if I understand correctly, it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank
you. I wouldn't have been nearly as excited if you're like, hey, we just extended the limited edition. Not that it was bad, it was a one-time project, and then y'all came back and made it better. And that, I said, I smoke a lot of it.
Yeah, I remember it's the first time we had the Gold Star. It was at PCA, and my expectations were they weren't high or low, they were just regular. And I feel like that's sometimes the best expectations to have. And it really did blow me away. I mean, I was like, oh, this was, really good, really, really great.
Yeah, we were like, we may order a box or two because Agnes had been telling us about it, and I think we ordered 20. And so, and they sold pretty quickly. I mean, we're on probably turn 4 or 5, and again, as you know, we're not a huge shop there in Lufkin, but we've been on multiple turns of Gold Star just because it sells well.
Right. But you have a dedicated, we did the event. You have a beautiful back lounge area, and everyone's just, hungry for more knowledge, but they're very educated on cigars. And you guys have done a great job kind of cultivating that crowd. And so
I want to hit 2 more questions. And Mel, I was trying to think through, I hope Mel asked this question because it's not on our notes, but so 2 quick questions before we wrap up, Oliver. One is for those rebels that are out there that are watching us, and we have between 500 and 2,000 views in a given episode. So we're not huge, but not tiny either.
Right.
What do you want them to know about United Cigars? If you were going to be talking directly to the consumer, what's the one thing you would want them to hear about what y'all are trying to accomplish?
So just in the name itself, we always like to say, we're living united. And because smoking a cigar, we sometimes overcomplicate that experience. And it's really just kind of going back on thinking, well, what got you into the industry? Why, not in the industry, what got you into cigars? Like, why did you sit down originally? And it's great to dig deeper and find out the wrapper, filler, binder, where it came from, but then sometimes that can complicate things, because then we look at it and you smoke something and say, well, I didn't like the, say on United, I didn't like the Dominican broadleaf. I'm not going to smoke another cigar that has Dominican broadleaf, but it might not be that component, or maybe it just wasn't used properly on a certain way. So, it's a beautiful experience to walk into a humidor and start from the left and go to the right, and try everything. But I guess the one message out there is, you're by smoking our lines, you're supporting something that means something to our families. Right? We're all in this, and we're small and growing, but just being true to our word, enjoying the culture.
That's great.
Awesome. And so from the standpoint of, if retailers or loungers want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get in contact?
So on social media, we're at United Cigars, and that would be the quickest way. Our website is unitedcigargroup.com. And in fact, on the website, you can click to become a retailer, and that'll just start the process. But everyone out there, we have a Discord group now that we just started up. So if you want to come in and chat, we're on We're at it's UC 1901, right, going back to when United Cigars started. But we're United Cigars on Discord, so they can come in and chat, ask questions, and do whatever.
So if you're a retailer and watching this, which I know we have a few of you guys out there, we've gotten some comments. This is a cigar line that if you do not carry, you want to bring in everything from that value $6 to $9 that you can hand off to anybody walking in. At the lounge Mel and I own, we put new smokers on Montosa all the time. It is the right price point. And then you have those guys that come in there looking for a Padron or a Davidoff. And I'm telling you that Nelson line, the Bandolero Premium, the Atabay, the Byron, dollar for dollar competes with those all day long, and you're going to get repeat buyers. So just as we're not saying that because Oliver's with us, when we talk to new shops that reach out to us and ask questions, we share our line because we have a cigar line, so you got to talk about that. And then the next one we reference is you need to talk to United.
Wow, thank you so much.
Because we do truly believe in what you guys are doing. It helps that I think you and the guys in y'all's group believe in us. Yeah. And that's what good partners do, right? Yeah. How do we do things? I mean, we're a 30,000 member city or population city. Wow. And Oliver came and did a special night with us. We actually, you probably don't remember this because you do, there's one of you and hundreds of us. Right. Right? But when you came to Lufkin we were launching United Connecticut.
Yeah. That was the launch.
That was the launch for us. Is we were going to bring that out, and you came out to do that. Wow. And so that was kind of one of those cool opportunities. They'll do that. They'll come out. They'll be with you.
And I think people don't realize how big Texas is.
Yeah, that is true.
Because a lot of people here, like you can cross all of Massachusetts in 3 hours.
Yeah.
You were just saying from Lufkin to Dallas is 3 hours, and you're nowhere close to even crossing Dallas. No. So some people are crossing Texas. Some people here or that I talk to, like, oh, I'm going out to Texas. I'm so excited. I'm like, what part?
Yeah.
Because it's not. It's just not one state.
Yep.
Yeah, it's massive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I always laugh. You'd mention like, oh, it's only an hour and a half away, from where you're at. Right. And I think in a normal state, people will not make that journey because it's an hour and a half.
Right.
Car.
Yeah.
But in Texas, it's like, oh my gosh, it's only an hour and a half.
Right.
We have good friends that make an hour and a half to our trip to go to a good restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
Because so we're an hour and a half north of the Houston metro area. 2 hours, 2.5 into Houston proper, but people do a lot of Friday night date nights in the Houston area from Lufkin because it's just, you go down there, make a little bit of an evening of it, but it's because we're so used to our next door neighbor works in Houston, so he makes that commute, and so he's a firefighter, so he's 48 on, 48 off.
Right.
So he drives down, does the 48 there, but he's like, I get to live in a neighborhood that most people go to vacation, right? Because we're right in the middle of the national forest, and
or see YouTube videos of, or you see it in books. It's just
exactly.
Awesome.
Well, we're going to wrap up here with this time. Oliver, thank you again so much for being with us.
Yes,
thank you.
I agree. I mean, every time I think we have the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you and the team over the last couple of years. I mean, you guys have a lot of wisdom, knowledge in the industry. And so, I mean, I'm excited about everything you guys are doing. And again, like Kevin said, I appreciate and we were it was so awesome that you were available and were willing to sit with us for a little bit today.
I think the last thing I'll say, this is not a negative to anybody in the industry. Everybody's great in this industry. It's a lot smaller than people realize.
Right.
We've gotten to know quite a few people. Some of those have been connection through you guys, others. But the grace and the kindness that you and your whole team bring is very different. And again, from a retailer perspective, that's why you've got to work with these guys.
Thank you.
It's just different. And it's not that it's a business and everybody has to be making money. Everybody has to be making sure they can take care of the people they're responsible for. But you guys take that a step further. As you mentioned earlier, it wasn't just about the price of the cigar. It was about how do we do this? How do we do it right? How do we set the right foundation? And if I was going to define United Cigars in any way, it really is grace and kindness.
Oh, thank you. It's and when it was just, just myself, but obviously, Dave's the owner, but when I would come back for a trip or we would talk, it was always the money will come. Obviously, we're focused on sales because in any business, but the money will come. Build the relationships, be honest, have some integrity in what you do, and everything else will grow from there. And that's translated down to Agnes as well and the entire team. And I don't know how other manufacturers work when you're calling them, but we try not to make it cold by any means. We like to have the conversations, and it's a very personal industry and a very personal pastime.
Yeah.
So we want that to translate on our side of the business too, even though it's a business transaction.
Yeah.
But we like it to be personal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again.
Yeah,
Thank you. No,
Thank
thank
you
you
for
both.
being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us here.
No,
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that you guys made the trip.
It's great.